Okay, the time has finally come. We are rebuilding the Patrol. Now, I've always said since day one, I will never sell this car, and that remains true. So back in 2016, early 2017, this is what started the Built Not Bought channel. We did the full build on it, 25 episodes, did the LS conversion. It was white, and we did a few trips in that. There was some engine modifications done after that, and we drove the shit out of it. Then we came to Queensland, it got wrapped black with that same engine and driven again. Then we got a new tray, so we upgraded the back end with a P-Core tray, and that was kind of a new unveiling. We put the 40s on it for a bit of a laugh and everything. Then it got driven around heaps more. Then we did another build on it where we did the Duramax swap, so that's got the new driveline. Then we changed the front end, did the Y62 front, and then it got driven a heap more. It did the Fink, it did the Cape twice, absolutely hammered, and this is where we are now. The thing is pretty poor condition. So a lot of that over the years is me working out exactly where I want this car, and I think I figured it out. I love the driveline, I love the suspension, how everything works, so I want to build it from the ground up this time, exactly how I want it to last forever. We're going to look after it this time, we're going to give it a proper paint job and make it look schmicko. So in this episode, we're stripping the thing down, ready for its final rebuild. I think it's like its 4th or 5th rebuild, and we're going down to a bare chassis, even to the point where we're going to sandblast that chassis back to bare metal, because every time we did a rebuild, to be honest, we just laid paint over dirt. There's probably 4 layers of paint on that chassis just stacked up over the years. So we want to strip it down and rip into it. Why am I starting with a new car? I can't sell this thing. It's so sentimental. It's the car that started this whole channel. So here we go again for another rebuild. Let's rip into it. All right, so the plan today, Mitch and I are gonna rip in back to front. We're going backwards. So we're gonna start with the tray. All the toolboxes need to come off, and then we can lift off the top of the forklift, punch all the glass out, take the doors off, interior out, and we should be able to pretty much lift the cab off through the roof of the forklift, and then lift the motor out down to a bare chassis. The mission today is to get it into a chassis and possibly get the motor out. There's gonna be a bit of wiring stuff to undo, but we'll rip into it. Pulling cars apart is usually the fastest thing, but you always wanna make sure whenever you pull bolts and stuff off, keep it organized, put it in a container so you know where it goes back together. Otherwise it'll cause a massive headache in the future. So let's get going. Yeah, so this is one thing that annoys the shit out of me, Zach just mentioned. Polished stainless. As soon as it gets hot, it goes yellow, and then, I don't know, they call it stainless, but it just immediately rusts. I think anytime you go in salt water, it's just gonna turn anyway. So the back's off. What we're gonna do now is front end, I'm gonna pull the doors out, door cards, bonnet off, guards off, snorkels out, glass out, bull bar off, headlights out, and then lift the cab off, and then we can start working on stripping all the wrap off the bonnet and doors and everything, and then it's just motor out. So there's a ton of wiring I want to clean up in this thing. This was done years ago, and I'm just going to delete that whole thing. Now I know exactly what's going to be running this car. I don't need all that. So that was for when I had a second battery. I think over the years, you don't need a second battery in your engine bay. If you've got a canopy, that runs everything anyway. So we'll clean up a heap of that wiring, and then Duramax comes out, and we're almost ready to just strip it down to the chassis.
Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what, add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what.
One bolt holding this guard on. How good.
Back it up, matter what, told you I'ma do me, why you hating on me, it's not adding up. Like a Mack truck.
More years and years of dust and crap. I just had word that our windscreen banners are back in stock. These have been out of stock for ages, and they are a hot favorite, so they always sell out when we get them, so go grab one now. Designed for the side of the window, but you can stick them anywhere. They're good on snorkels too, so keep that in mind.
Climb me, I put the ladders up. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up.
All right, to pull the cab off, we've got to pull all the wiring out from firewall through, or everything that goes to the chassis, pretty much all the coolers from the front and get rid of all the fluids in it as well. Pretty much everything that looks circular in a pipe we got to take off. There's a lot going on in this engine bay. Rightio, so we've got the cab off and given it all a good wash. We're not going to bore you with like taking all this off, so I'm just going to rip all that off camera, and then we'll come back when we're getting the motor and the gearbox out. Then once we're back to bare chassis, we can get it sandblasted and repainted properly.
Later.
All right, there is a bit on at the old Built Not Bought workshop today. The Patrol is in a million pieces. So we've got the cab stripped here. Off camera, we've already started ripping the wrap off. It came off not too bad, but there's still a ton of prep work to do. We've got about 10 days until everything goes off for paint. So the mission is to get all the bodywork done. So the more bodywork I can do, the less Jake will have to do, and it'll get done a lot quicker. There is 2 Patrols being shipped at the moment. So we're rebuilding KP's Patrol at the moment after the rollover. So that's all happening. My chassis is down the back, ready for sandblasting. So I'm just gonna send that off, sandblast it, either powder coat it or paint it with a new black epoxy. But the mission today is the only rust I found on this thing was on the radiator support. So I've got a brand new radiator support from Nissan, and I've never done it before, but we're gonna be cutting out this cross member. So the rust is down here. There's a little bit on the other side as well, but it's pretty common on these for them to start swelling there. So there's a bunch of like little fillet pinch welds to remove here, and just kind of peel it back. So I can use the other one as a reference and work out where it's got to be cut, and then that should be mint. So with that new support in, it means it's pretty much rust free, this body. There's a little bit of surface rust on the gutter when we pull the windscreen out, so I'll hit that with a wire wheel and use some rust converter on that. But other than that, engine bay's got to be kind of washed because I want this painted too, and we should be looking good. So let's rip into that, get this cross member off, start putting the new one on. Alrighty, so we spun the cab around and lifted it up to make it a bit easier. Now, thankfully, this thing was that filthy, I can actually still see the outline on the top of where the actual cross member was. So the top's easy, there was no real damage there, so that keeps that in place. With the bottom, you basically drill a couple of holes to fill with weld, little spot welds. I will probably run a tape measure along the back to the cab to get the bottom right, so your radiator's not on the piston stuff. So that's all I need to do. There's 2 bolts that go through the bottom, so it's pretty simple. By pulling it apart, you pretty much figure out how to put it back together, and then you just run some welds through and it'll be pretty good. Or if you're from Victoria, or if you're from Melbourne, you'll weld it. You gotta weld it.
Is that what they say?
That's what they say. Alrighty, today we're starting the process of rebuilding this Patrol. So I've just run down and picked up the chassis from sandblasting. Then we're gonna run up to fat coatings and get this thing powder coated. So the chassis will be all brand new. And then literally today as well, we're dropping the cab off for paint. So we're heading up to Mixed Image Customs. So chassis is getting painted, cab's getting painted, and then we can finally start the reassembly. So there's heaps going on. I really wanted to do this build properly, so we're starting from scratch, and that's why I got it fully sandblasted. It was pretty expensive, but you want to do it right. So like I said, last time we went on top of paint, on top of mud. This time it is bare metal, so we should get a real clean job on it. So pretty exciting.
A few moments later.
Right, we wouldn't bloody read about it. In between the last clip, driving it home, and the powder coaters, we jumped on the phone to Tom, and their baking booth isn't long enough. So this is a lot longer than we thought. It's sitting at about 5 meters, so it's not gonna fit. So we're back to the original plan of painting it ourselves. So gonna spend the next couple of days just cleaning up any old brackets, getting it properly ground down, just kind of flushing it off. There's some old like plasma cutting I did ages ago, which was a bit awkward to get to, but we can get to it a lot easier now. So just gonna clean it up, fix a couple little rust things, pull the tow bar off, cross member off, and then hopefully paint it in the next couple of days. So we're pretty much just gonna, yeah, do that. I forgot what I was saying.
Going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, going up. Get it that I'm never.
Righto, so as you see in those clips, this middle plate has lifted and caused a fair bit of rust underneath. I'm just gonna cut that plate off and inspect this box section. If it's good to go and it hasn't completely rusted, then we're sweet, we'll run it. If not, we'll have to make a new tow bar. But this is generally caused from not using like a weld-through primer or a primer underneath the two mating surfaces. So obviously when you weld this on, it's not completely sealed and has these air gaps. Moisture can get in, creating rust. So when we do cut this plate off and we are going to replace it with the new plate, we definitely will be hitting it with some sort of weld-through primer underneath, so this thing couldn't happen again.
Get it that I'm never going back. Get it that I'm never going back. Going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, going up. Get it that I'm never going up, going up, going up, going up, going up.
Woo-hoo-hoo! We're stacking some diamonds now. Come here, come here. Oh, so we've warmed up.
Party, like buy a bike.
We've warmed up.
Totally do so gnarly. I get to it first, I got you mad. I guess that when I get to it last. Get it that I'm never going back. Get it that I'm never going back. I get to it first, I got you mad. I guess that when I get to it last. Get it that I'm never going back. Get it that I'm never going back. Going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, going up. Get it that I'm never going up, going up, going up.
Alrighty, I feel like it's proper deja vu right now. The last time we painted something, the XC chassis, it was piss and rain. Guess what it's doing today? It's raining again, and it's been raining for about 2 weeks, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. It's not ideal conditions, but we need to get some paint on the chassis. So it's been all cleaned up, and it's taken probably 3 or 4 days, which means a lot of oxidizations happen. When you sandblast something, it literally leaves nothing on there to protect it from even just the air or your fingerprints, anything that touches that chassis, it starts rusting. So we're gonna have to give it a quick sand, and we're using the same paint that we use for the XC. So that's their enamel, oh no, it's this one here. This is their enamel primer, just an olive, and we can go wet on wet with the polyurethane 400. Now, I got this tinted down to a bit more of a satin. Obviously, the XC was very glossy, so we've dialed it back a bit so it's not so shiny, a bit better for like a street car. So we're gonna whack that on at the moment since it's raining. It's the first time this whole year actually that I've been wearing a hoodie. And speaking of hoodies, the website is live again. So after the Brisbane show and Matsuri, we had the site turned off. So guys, now it is live again. All the stock's uploaded. And we do have a couple of brand new designs for the XC. We do have a little bit of that stock left. So I'll put a link down below for the Flex C stuff. I'll chuck up a couple of designs here of what that is. So definitely jump over and grab some of that. And we will be starting working on some winter stuff soon. So let's get some primer on this thing, wet on wet, lay a couple of coats, and then we'll smash the black on. And hopefully hide a lot of the welds and rust. What do you reckon? Alrighty, we got the primer on now, so Mitch ran around, did a really good job getting all the tight little bits. I came through and did a second coat, So we've got a little bit of thickness on there now. It used a lot of paint. Compared to the XC chassis, it's way harder. There's so many more angles and brackets and hanging off of it. So we're gonna go for the black now. So a couple of coats of the primer. The good thing with this stuff, the same stuff we use, is we can go wet on wet. So we don't have to wait for it to set. We don't have to sand it in between the coats. We can just start hitting it with the black. So we're going on the polyurethane black. Hopefully it's not too shiny. I asked them to throw a bit of toner in there to kind of thin it out to a more of a satin finish rather than the gloss. So we'll start laying that on. A good thing with black, we'll be able to really see where we've missed because it's a different color to that olive primer. So let's get it laid on. Hopefully it doesn't rain too much because it is slightly getting the chassis wet, but that's fine. We'll see how we go. Oh, see if you can do this at home. See if you're a real mechanic. Mitch isn't a real mechanic. Hey! Alright, so while I paint the chassis, I want you guys to comment down below what color you think I'm painting the body, because we did drop that off. It's not what you're expecting. Not many people paint their car this color. It's literally not a factory color. You couldn't find it on any car. It's not primer. Mitch likes primer, but it's not primer. You won't guess it. You just won't. Alrighty guys, we've let the chassis dry for a few hours. It is literally about 10:30 at night, so I've come out for a little look and it's starting to touch dry. Like I said, with this sort of weather, it's gonna take a really long time to cure. It's literally still raining, which sucks, and the front is getting a little bit moist, but this thing is that heavy we can't really move it inside. So we're gonna have to wait for a couple of days of sunshine. I'm gonna let it try and cure over the weekend, hopefully get some heat and sun into it. It's laid on really shiny. So I know I said I wanted a satin finish, and I think it's because we painted it in such cool conditions that it's laid really flat and kind of giving it that shiny look. It definitely has a bit of satin matte to it, but look, I'm not mad. It looks more flash, and let's be honest, it's a full drive. It's gonna get muddy anyway. But that's pretty much it for this episode. We punched a lot out for one episode on the GU build. We've already stripped it, pulled the motor out, stripped the cab, sent that off to paint, painted the chassis. So in next episode, we will be putting the diffs back under it. We've got some brand new suspension parts from Superior Engineering that have literally just been released, some of them. I'm actually getting some pre-production parts coming soon for this as well, so that'll be pretty exciting for these guys out there. Then we'll probably drop the motor in after that and start getting this thing a rolling chassis. We obviously want to build this thing fully legal this time. It's going to be engineered 4" and 35s, and then we're potentially putting some new sheet metal diffs under this thing to increase the GVM, which is also a new thing coming out for Queensland. So stay tuned next week, guys. Thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.